Chris Chambers of 100 Degree Hockey joins the show for a Texas Stars preview. Toby Peterson at the helm in Cedar Park. A potential goalie battle will ensue during training camp, and who will turn heads next season for the Texas Stars?
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And today, it is a Texas Stars preview, and I am very, very happy to have on the show once again Chris Chambers, a staff writer of 100 Degree Hockey, did great stuff in his first season down in Cedar Park, and maybe more importantly, the co-host of Starcastic Remarks with a couple of his brothers. I like to hop on every once in a while, but Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It's September now, and hockey season is right around the corner.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love hearing all those hockey sounds behind you. It really makes it seem real.
Yeah, I'm currently at the Hilliard Center, which is the home of the Corpus Christi ice race. Practice just ended, but of course the guys are staying on. They're going to rattle some pucks around, so but bear with me with some of the audio. But maybe it's nice as well to get to hear some of those sound effects, the pucks hitting the glass, which isn't a good thing. These boys need to hit the net more, Chris, so they can score more goals. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a couple preseason games this weekend. But let's jump into some Texas Stars hockey talk. I've talked enough about the big boy club, but some similar transition periods, right? Now Toby Peterson at the helm. Neil Graham, of course, has been promoted. Now the assistant coach with the Dallas Stars. Toby Peterson, a former member of the organization, is now at the helm. What is the expectation, and what do you think Peterson can bring to the bench for the Texas Stars this season?
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. It's a really similar situation to what Golitzyn's going into with Dallas. I mean, you can't really ask for anything better than what Neil Graham has done with his tenure in Cedar Park. You just want him to kind of keep it going and try to take it to the next level. So, yeah, Peterson, his last season of professional hockey was actually with the Calder Cup winning Texas Stars team, and he joins a staff of two other Texas Stars, of Travis Morin and Fortunas. So there's a lot of former Texas Stars now coaching the Texas Stars too. So it's a staff of former players, and yeah, it's shaping up to be a good coaching staff.
Yeah, they ended up keeping on all the same assistant coach, which is a bit, I guess a coincidence, just because the really stayed the same for Dallas as well. Beside Neil Graham being promoted, who of course has been there for the last 5.5 seasons as the bench boss. I guess as a Stars question to some degree, what do you think Neil Graham is going to bring behind the bench? I know he asked you this, I think, at the end of the season, talking about his potential to be a candidate for the Stars moving forward. But what is Neil Graham, or maybe potentially what are the Texas Stars losing with Neil Graham going up top?
Yeah, well, for Dallas, it'll bring some familiarity with players that have played with him before, so that might be helpful, especially for Jake Ottinger. I think spoke on it a couple weeks ago, how he really liked the presence that Neil Graham had with him in Cedar Park, and he's excited to work with him again. But yeah, it's getting rid of a lot for Texas. I mean, he's consistently won for the team. He's got them to the playoffs every single year that he's been with Texas Stars, I think. And yeah, the development is also just going to be a huge factor as well. I mean, you look at all the players that Neil Graham was able to develop when he was in Cedar Park, and I mean, all the young stars that the Stars have now, Neil Graham's touched pretty much every single one of them. So it's big shoes to fill for Peterson, but he's got a good resume in his own right. I mean, he's worked with he's really close with Colorado Avalanche head coach, and he's been their skills guy for a long time, and he's kind of stepping back into the more actual coaching role rather than just focusing on skills. So maybe he's bringing some more skills to these new guys as well and helping them actually add tools.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for Peterson coming into Texas? They have a lot of familiar faces, a lot of guys coming back, but is there a potential big challenge that he's going to have to face this season?
Yeah, the number one for pretty much every AHL head coach is the dual mandate that you have is
Yeah.
you need to win hockey games and you need to make new Dallas Stars. And it's kind of hard to gauge which one of those is more important, and it kind of depends on the game which one's more important. The other thing I would say is he's got a lot of different kind of players he's going to have to coach. So this Texas Stars team has a lot of veteran AHL guys. Look at McKenzie, who just re-signed. Caro now is on a 3-year deal for Texas. He's going to be a long-term guy. Hughes and Lind were huge parts of the playoffs last year. So you got veterans like that who are seeking to win on this hockey team more than anything. You've got younger guys. You're going to have Bertucci and McDonnell probably on this Texas Stars squad who are going to be coming from major juniors, and they're going to be looking to learn how to be professionals. And then you're going to have some older prospects like Ritzkovian and Huru who are trying to push into the NHL and get past the AHL hurdle, sort of. So he's got a lot of different guys who are a lot of different goals. So he's got to sort of bring that up together and put a good product on the ice.
So you've been around the dressing room a bit, and you mentioned Huru and Ritzkovian, number 1 and 2 for me. Were two guys that I was looking at over the summer potentially could have a chance to crack maybe the opening night lineup.
Yeah.
But then the Stars, they go out and sign a Bastion, and maybe this is where Blue Mel sort of ran into some issues, right? And of course led to his departure, whereas they could play really well in preseason. They can do a lot of great things down the AHL the first couple months, but maybe there's just not a role for them. How difficult can that be? Maybe as a coaching staff having to deal with players that feel like maybe like Ritzkovian, let's say he lights it up in the first 2 months. It feels like I should at least crack an NHL lineup, but can't. That's also another dimension that Peterson and coaches have to deal with right down the AHL.
Yep, for sure. I mean, that's a huge challenge when they're looking at it and seeing that there's no real way to go forward. And that's just one of the challenges of having a good NHL squad. Mm-hmm. So I think the key for them is that they're going to be focused on being ready when that chance happens. So if an injury comes, I think Ritzkovian and Huru are both guys who are going to be first to go up there. And then it's got to be, I mean, Dallas fans might not like this, but there's other people in the building too. I mean, there's every NHL team has guys come into Cedar Park every now and then to check these people out. So you need to keep playing at your highest level for maybe someone else does have a spot for you on the NHL roster.
You talked about Hughes a bit and Lynn. Lynn came over in the offseason, had a pretty big year down in Cedar Park. And you talked about his success in the playoffs, number 1. Who are some of those veterans? You know, McKenzie's been around for forever, but who are some of those guys that you're looking at who must take bigger roles for next season, with maybe a departure of a Blue Mel, and they need some extra help chipping in a few goals here and there since Blue Mel lit the world up? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Hughes took a huge step during the playoffs. He was actually the Stars' leading scorer during their playoff run last year with 18 points, and that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he was an offensive guy, and he was in the top 6 pretty consistently for Texas, but he wasn't really a goal scorer the whole regular season for Texas. So if he can bring some of what he had in the playoffs and spread that out some more during the regular season as well, I think that'll help fill in some of the holes that Blue Mel leaves. And then there's other guys that'll be able to fill that in with some younger players that'll be able to get some more work. I think McDonnell is someone who could really take a big step up there. He's 5'10", kind of with those Stankoven vibes of a grinder who just goes and does the dirty work in the corner. So a guy like him has a real shot to get a top 6 role rather than just grind for one of those spots on the bottom.
Yeah, I think I remember looking back at the postseason point production. Like Texas had like 4 of the top 5, or maybe it was 5 of the top 7 scoring leaders in the postseason, but obviously fell short. Give me some insight there. Like, what do they need to do to get over the hump? Maybe I feel, we always say that about the Dallas Stars. I know Texas Stars have had a lot of success, but what are they looking for? What do they possibly need next season to try to get over that hump?
Yeah, they just ran into a buzzsaw that was Sheila. playoffs. I mean, he hit a fantastic postseason. He got promoted into the NHL this year because of it, pretty much. And he was just fantastic. And it seemed like the Stars just kind of ran out of gas there. They put everything they could into those games, and when they didn't go their way, it's just so demoralizing when you felt like you were the better team and you didn't get the result you deserved. And then they had a good bit of injuries too that just slowed them down a lot as well. So yeah, it was a couple different things, but it did feel very similar to Dallas, both losing in the conference final.
Yeah, I think they had a couple overtime games, some long ones, right? And those can be tough, especially if you lose those when you play all that time and you find a way to lose one. It's only one game, but it feels like you played three.
Like multiple, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Sheloff. Well, let's talk about some of the goaltending battles that may ensue with Cedar Park down with the Texas Stars as well in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for your full browser and for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. So the Texas Stars may have a couple of netminders in the crease sort of battling out for that number one position. Or maybe I'm mistaken. Remy Poirier played quite a bit in the postseason. It was Magnus Hellberg who seemed to be the pseudo number one last season. But he's now gone. He's actually playing in the Swedish Hockey League. But Benjamin Krause in the ECHL last season, I saw put up fantastic numbers with the Idaho Steelheads, 40 games, 2.88 goals against average, 910 save percentage. He did have a cup of coffee with the Texas Stars as well. So Chris, would love to hear your insight. Is this Poirier's job to lose, or is there a bit of a battle that could ensue with maybe Krause? Or do you know anything about this German goaltender that was drafted, Arno Tifiness, I think his name was. I may butcher that.
So, yeah.
but he's a German guy that may be coming in as well.
Yeah, I think it's Poirier's net to lose. I mean, he had some fantastic stretches for the Texas Stars, and really the problem with him is just the consistency. And I think Neil Graham used him and Hellberg extremely well in the playoffs. He was pretty much switching back and forth, just playing the hot hand. And that's kind of how Poirier's year went last year. It's like there be 5 stretches of games where he would just be fantastic, lights out, getting his name chanted in the HEB Center. And then there'd be 3 straight games where he couldn't find the sauce. So it's his to lose. And that's the thing he's got to figure out is the consistency. I know they like Krause. They really like what he did in Boise, and if he can keep that up, that'd be huge for him. T. Fesson, I don't know a ton about. I know that they've liked the situation he was in with Germany, so I'm guessing they like the coaches that were around him, and they felt like they could keep good enough tabs on him over there. I think he is going to be playing professional hockey in North America this year. I don't know if that's going to be in the ECHL or if he's going to get a crack at Texas, but with how good Krause did last year, I find it hard to see him trying to take a full spot up in Cedar Park.
I just did a little research for this with the German netminder. He had some good numbers. He was also part of some of the international games. It looks like he's going to have a chance to make the roster for the Team Germany in the Olympics.
Yes.
In 2026. So that could be cool. He was a 2023 fifth round pick, by the Stars, by the way. So it's not like he's totally coming out of nowhere. The Stars have had their eye on him. But Poirier, you mentioned, one of his better years statistically in 31 games, 2.50 goals against average, 908 save percentage. Had really good numbers in the playoffs too. 2.19 goals against average, 919 save percentage. And you mentioned that Graham was sort of just kind of hopping between him and Hellberg with the hot hand. Do you think potentially for Poirier, he's looking for that consistency. If he is that number one guy, do you think that may help him? Maybe he, or was that an issue last year where it was like maybe Neil Graham, this coaching staff, gave him a chance to kind of take control of the net and it just never happened? But potentially playing every single night or playing, let's say, 3 out of 4 nights, do you think that could help him with some of that consistency?
Yeah, there was never a real effort to lock in a number one last season.
Yeah.
So Poirier was the guy who he's the prospect goalie for the Star system right now. Still, you're trying to get him to be better. And Hellberg was the solid number 3. I mean, this wasn't going to be a Stars goalie of the future, but you wanted to keep him ready in case either DeSmith or Ottinger went down for a period of time. So it wasn't really a number one situation, but
yeah.
And I still think it'll be that way. If Kroos gets up here, I think it'll most likely be him and Poirier sharing the net. Maybe 1A, 1B, more like than it is a starter and a true backup. The real showing would be in the playoffs. Is if they go to one goaltender in the playoffs, then hey, that's kind of the guy you're looking at more as your main goalie prospect for the year. But during the regular season, they'll swap it pretty consistently.
Yeah, well, it never hurts to have a couple of good goaltenders. It's nice to kind of ride both and see what you can get. I'm really intrigued to see what kind of happens there, and of course the young German as well may crack a spot. But what did you like maybe out of the offseason from Texas? Maybe it's more of a Stars question because they made a lot of good signings as you mentioned. Where do you kind of see this team going? What's their direction, and how do you think they're going to play? It's going to be pretty similar to last year. Maybe this is a Peterson question too, with different style, maybe a different approach.
Yeah, Texas looks in a great spot to make another really good run at the Calder Cup this year. They really doubled down on getting good AHL talent that's ready to win games. I mean, we mentioned them off the top, but I mean, you signed McKenzie, Hughes, Lind, Caro, all to those kind of deals where they know the situation. They're most likely going to be in the AHL for the majority of it, and they're all in for it. They want to win here. I mean, that's kind of their motto, and I think the franchise backed that up by signing these people again, and they're saying, hey, we're gonna keep a good team down in AHL that's going to try and win games, not just develop. As far as the strategy that Peterson goes, it'll be interesting to see. I think Goldson will have more of an influence on if he wants it to match what they're doing in the AHL level. So last year, Neil Graham was able to do a little bit of his own thing down in Cedar Park. You saw it especially on like the power play. There's a lot more of the spread going on in the AHL level, whereas in the NHL, they're pretty much sticking to the 1-3-1 strictly. But we'll see if Goldson wants that to be a little bit more similar between AHL and NHL to make call-ups easier. So we'll just have to see when that gets on the ice.
So you were there last season. I'm just curious, like what, and we of course compliment them on all the success. Like, what do you think that the secret sauce has been down there at the HEB Center? Why do they just seem to be able to put together such a good squad? Is it just as simple as like they go out and they find good players, or what is it? It's just a culture? I'm curious what maybe you've picked up.
Yeah, it is partially finding good players. I mean, there's a lot of AHL teams that they have their prospects on and they don't really care who else is on the team. But I mean, the guys last season really were super closely connected. I mean, they loved playing for each other. You could see it in every single small moment that happened. Whenever guys would finally get their first professional goal, I mean, there'd be huge jubilation, even more than a normal one. The bench would all rally together. I mean, they're all commenting on all their Instagram posts on each other. So it was some real camaraderie between these guys, and it wasn't just another day in the office for them. They were really battling for each other. Yeah,
I think you probably see that come to fruition a bit with the Stars as well. Like, it looks like Otter, Harley are really close. Bork and Stankoven, of course. I know it's a bit different now, but they seem to carry those friendships, and it's cool that they kind of grow up together to some degree too. Like, they're really young. Sometimes we forget that, they're in their mid-20s, and they're just beginning their young careers, and they get to play the game they love with their best buddies sometimes, and they get to find a lot of success. Hopefully, at the NHL level one day. But let's talk about some of the new guys. Maybe there's some new faces or some guys coming back for their second season that may turn heads. I'm curious to get some of Chris's predictions about maybe a dark horse that's going to have a big season in Cedar Park. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye out on your fantasy lineup. We have the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday. The Cowboys just going to break our hearts for another season, it seems, but maybe not. And that's why you can sprinkle some money on FanDuel. It's quick, it's easy, the best way to add some more energy to your Sundays or Thursdays or Monday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Alrighty, so I wanted to discuss some potential dark horses, maybe some X factors heading in to next season for Texas, maybe some guys that we haven't touched on today already. Chris, is there a young guy, maybe a young draft pick that's coming up that could potentially have a big year in Texas? And maybe I'll start here just because I know he had a cup of coffee last year, but Trey Taylor. Defenseman. He came in after the NCAA season. I believe he was at Clarkson, went to play at Clarkson. What can you tell me about his game and where he potentially fits in for next season?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go with first,
cool.
too. Trey Taylor is definitely kind of the dark horse that you're thinking of. He comes in last year at ATO, and he immediately slotted into the top four, immediately was the second quarterback of that second power play unit. And he went from, you don't really know his name, and now he's got some high expectations for next year of maybe being one of the better defenseman prospects for Dallas. It'll be really interesting to see how he translates that skill we saw in a short amount of time to a full AHL season. Those NCAA seasons are, it's a lot less games, a lot more breaks between them. So now he's going to try and figure out how to do it kind of night in, night out. On a professional level, but yeah, he's a really good puck moving defenseman. He's more of your Miro Heiskanen than he is an Essa Lindell. So it's really exciting to see what he's gonna be able to do with a little bit more time and maybe even a little bit more responsibility.
What about Kyle McDonald up front? He seemed to have a pretty strong rookie campaign, 26 points in 58 games, and it didn't play as much last season. I remember from a couple of years ago watching a preseason. Not like I thought he was going to make the team or anything, but he looked pretty good. But what about him, or what maybe he has to improve on for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to find a little bit more offensive consistency, and he's more of the bigger bottom lines kind of guy. So he's got to more consistently get some offense in this level to prove that he can do it at least a little bit in the next. And he's got to just really lock down the defense. So when you're a guy like that, you've got to just be perfect. Oscar Beck is a good example of that. He perfected what he did in Cedar Park, which is the defense, obviously. And that's what he's doing with Dallas now. That's how he got the pretty big extension for a guy of his role to get, that much security of a 3-year deal. And, I think that's kind of the path that McDonald would have to try and find himself on as well.
Antonio Stranges, that was a deal the Stars were able to get done in the offseason. And he's sort of just looking sort of as production year after year, sort of has that Wyatt Johnston kind of thing, except at a different level, obviously. But he just seems like the goal totals have gone up each and every year. The point totals continue to go up in every year. Is that a guy with maybe the departure of Blue Mel has a chance to kind of maybe fill that void and potentially be a guy that like the Stars lean on a bit for scoring?
Yeah, definitely for scoring. That's where he excels most, is the offensive side of his game. He's a super dangler, great skater, maybe the best one in the AHL. He's had some crazy highlights go viral on Twitter with his coast-to-coast skating. His real thing that he needs to focused on is the weaker parts of his game, though. The physicality and being able to stay in the lineup has been a real struggle for him. Just being a little bit undersized, he gets injured a good bit in a heavy hitting AHL.
Yeah.
And then the defensive side of his game, I mean, he's a guy where if he was in the NHL, you'd have to put him in the top 6. I mean, he wouldn't be able to play that bottom 6 kind of role. So if he can figure out some defense to help him bridge that gap between leagues, that would be huge for him.
Okay, dealer's choice here. Is there just a guy you love? Maybe that we haven't talked about. Is there just someone you would love to pump their tires going into next season that maybe doesn't get shown a ton of love?
Yeah, this one would be kind of double dark horse, I guess.
Okay.
But Gavin White is someone who had a really good stretch there, kind of in the middle of the season. He got to play with Bischel for a little bit, and he really excelled next to him for whatever reason. It kind of went away as Bischel went up to Dallas, and he wasn't quite the same, but he's a guy who has some of that similar kind of skating and puck handling ability that Trey Taylor has. And I think if he was able to develop it a little bit more during this offseason and gain a little bit of confidence, he's a guy that could really crack the top 4 of this D-core and maybe be another defenseman prospect for Dallas in the future. So Gavin White would be my super dark horse. All
righty, Gavin White. Great stuff. Chris, thank you so much for hopping on. We really appreciate the insight. Look forward to reading some more of your stuff this upcoming season with 100 Degree Hockey. We do have some time, so I might as well selfishly throw in some Stars questions as well. Of course, your co-host at Starcastic Remarks, you and your brothers do a wonderful job over there. I guess what are your biggest storylines heading into next season? Maybe outside of goaltending, we know that's a big one. Maybe that's hard not to touch on, but there's some bigger storylines that you're really focusing on looking at the Dallas Stars in 25-26.
Yeah, they kind of rebuild the roster a little bit. You see them adding Bastian and Foxa again. It's like, all right, we're going back to like a true 4th line checking line, not a scoring line. The joke I made in our podcast is when the 4th line comes on the ice, you can just turn off the TV. Goals aren't going in either direction.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big change. And I think with that, you're going to see a different way with how they use the lines. They're not going to be trying to roll 4 lines the same way they were. They're going to lean a little bit more on that star power of Rantanen on the top. So how much does that improve the top line scoring? How much better does Rope get with a guy like that? I mean, he's been playing with McKinnon, and if he gets accused of being a McKinnon merchant, I mean, maybe he can throw a few more points Rope's way as well. So I think the ceiling for this team is just as high as it was last year. You just might see more of that production come from the best players rather than spread throughout the lineup.
I really like that. I really haven't heard it put that way, but I think you're right. And I would agree. Like the ceiling does feel just as high. Maybe the floor isn't there just because they had to lose some depth. But look, the Stars manipulated the cap. They weren't going to be as good right now as they were in Game 5 or whatever of the Edmonton series. Although they weren't that good even then, at least when you look at it. But man, I would love for Rope and Rantanen to play a bit. I'm curious if they throw Johnson up there too, just to give him some time. Like this is a question. I'm just fascinated by where does Johnston play in your eyes? Yeah. Do they keep him at center, or maybe they keep him at center and they move him up and Rope drops down. Maybe Goldson wants to give Hintz or pardon me, some Johnson some more minutes, just to take some of the load off Rope. Where do you kind of see him for next season as well?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question for the first half of the season, I think, at least. Johnson feels like a guy you have to have him in your top 6, right? I mean, you're paying him $8 million. He gets all those points. I mean, you got to get him more minutes that way. And putting him next to Ben is, it might just hamper him a little bit. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how he filters into that. I mean, if he's able to play his off wing on the left, that's kind of your ideal. I mean, there's a hole there already with Duchesne and Sagan, but I don't think we've really seen him on his off wing a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. My guess is that he finds his way on the second line at some point, because I think the top line of Rope and Rantanen's going to click. So I think there's going to be someone playing in a weird position on the second line that they're not really used to.
Yeah, because I agree to some a lot too. Where it's like it's either they have to give Ranton and Robo and Rope some time, just because I know it didn't fully click last year in that short little window, but they were trying to do it on the fly. That can be difficult with a full training camp underneath them. You might as well trot them out there together and see what happens. Because if they do really, really click, then I feel like you feel better than having to move Johnston up some, right. Or because then you can move Johnston if you want. You can move Johnston to be your second line center and play him alongside a Sagan. Maybe Dutchy moves over. Or even Ben or Duchesne. I don't know. There's just endless possibilities. That's what's fascinating about this top six. But you talk about, like Robo and Ranton could light the world on fire, Chris. I get giddy thinking about that. Like Robo's a guy that he has the potential to hit the century mark. Like he can do that. Him and Ranton together could be absolute fireworks. And we could be back to where we were a couple of years ago with like Pav in them. We're like, this is the best line in hockey and hands down. Yeah. I mean, you have to think Robo too, a full training camp underneath him. Hopefully he stays injury free. They're going to be a lot of fun. So I could talk 30 hours about these lines as well. I'm actually looking forward to Steele too, because I love Steele. And maybe he gets a crack to jump up. Is there someone else maybe in the bottom six that maybe plays a bigger role, or a Bork even? Like that's a guy. Like maybe this is the year. Like we maybe had too high expectations last year, but someone like that you think could really pop off and maybe help Dallas, because they did lose some scoring with Marchment gone to Donov and et cetera.
Yeah, I think Bork is the guy that you're kind of thinking to fill some of that points that you lost during the offseason. So if he's able to take a big step forward, that's what they're expecting. I think that's what Bork's expecting too. He actually like changed his agent over the offseason too. And you'd think, why would you do that unless you're looking to make a big swing next offseason? So I definitely think Bork is the guy that's most likely to be most improved.
Yeah, fresh start too. Maybe under other goals, and not that DeBoer didn't like him, but it's just a new coach. Maybe this opens up his game, and I think really everywhere he's been, it seems like he takes a year to kind of get settled. In that second season, he pops off. I believe he did that down in Texas. So now he's an opportunity to do that here. And if he really steps up, you're like, oh, okay, that's another center. That's another guy you can maybe move to the middle.
They're all centers now. So.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Everybody's hybrids. I think out of the 12 forwards, if you looked at the depth chart, probably 10 of them can play center, which is fine. And they got Fox back, so the Stars are going to run it back to like 2015 or whatever it was. Kidding, of course, it's tongue in cheek. But Chris, once again, we'll let you get out of here now that we've been over 30 minutes. But appreciate you hopping on. It was great to talk some Texas Stars hockey. I look forward to getting you on maybe a bit more regularly this season, just throughout the year. Where can people follow you, and where can they find your work, of course, upcoming for this season down in Cedar Park?
Yeah, 100degreehockey.com. We're ad-free now, so it's even easier to see our stuff.
Whoa.
So y'all can check that out there. We'll have some season previews coming up pretty soon, and we'll be covering those prospect tournament games as well. So if you want to read up on those, we'll have something for that. And then, check out Starcastic Remarks, podcast going on once a week, every Wednesday night. If you want to hop in live, we'll answer y'all's questions there. So.
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you once again. You have a great night. Stars fans, be sure to show Chris some love on the X thing as well. Chris Cham 2B. You can see it right there on your screen. Follow Locked On Stars. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a comment. Let us know how you're feeling about the Texas Stars and the Dallas Stars as well. Hockey season's right around the corner. Training camp is right around the corner. A lot of good stuff. We'll continue to pump out episodes every single day for you here on Locked On Stars. Have a great day, Stars fans. We'll see you on the next episode.